Never Have I Ever Season 3 ending explained. With a season that focused on Devi in the final year before she entered into senior year at high school, it also focused on the lasting effects of the death of her father whilst also facing the internal struggle of coming to terms with who she was as an individual and the person that she truly wanted to be. The ending supported all that we'd seen unfold over the course of the 10 episodes, so with that there came a lot to take away. So let's get into it. Here is Never Have I Ever Season 3 ending explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. This season of the show focused heavily on the story of Devi, with her journey to finding self-value, purpose, love, and also understanding if the pathway that she'd always had painted out for her as her dream future was something that she still needed to follow, and if it would be the very thing that would provide her happiness in the future. We saw two main love interests in terms of Paxton for the first few episodes, then we saw Des, which proved to be one of the more defining ones, but none of them ended the way that she predicted. As per usual, I'm going to break this video down into each individual main character arc that provided importance due to the fact that each character's endings were different to the others. Devi. Devi is the main focus of the show, and we saw her undergo her final year before senior year. She was still a nerd and still hadn't been with somebody in an intimate capacity, and she'd come to understand that if she didn't feel ready to do so, then that was totally okay, despite the fact that the people around her were doing so. We saw her spend time with Paxton, who was the cool kid in school, where we saw her question herself and the very reason why he was with her, to the point where it was the very thing that caused the demise of their relationship. She was doing this not because of what other people were saying, but mainly due to the fact that she didn't truly know herself, and she didn't have the self-worth or validation to feel as though she deserved to be with somebody in terms of popularity like Paxton. After we saw them break up, we saw her embark on another relationship, and this was with Des. Des was her mother's friend's son, and after it being revealed that it was okay for them to be together, we also saw them break up, through neither of their own faults. However, I didn't get the feeling that they were the right pairing for each other. We saw her get offered the chance to go and study in a school in Colorado for her final year, which would have seen her move away from her family and friends. But with that, it would have boosted her chances of getting into a top-tier college. But after visiting it and actually liking it and considering going, we saw the discussion that she had with her therapist and the main focal point of the show come to light. Throughout witnessing flashbacks of her life, more specifically of her father that she lost, we saw that she wasn't ready to leave. She had always had this future mapped out in front of her that she was working towards, but that was something that needed to be considered and questioned, as she now viewed it as something that held less value due to the fact that she now understood that the present day was the most valuable thing that there could be. Because like we saw with what happened to her father, you never know what tomorrow or the future could bring, and she doesn't want to lose anybody that's close to her and wants to spend more time with her family. The last we saw of her was going to Ben's place after he told her that he didn't want her to go to Colorado because he'd miss her, and she redeemed her one bonk redeemable voucher that he gave her. We saw her get the feeling in her stomach that she yearned to feel from both Paxton and Des when they were together, but the answer had been staring at her in the face the whole time. It was Ben. She most likely had an intimate evening with him and felt that he was the person who made her feel ready enough to do so. Closing off the story from the first episode in the season, I think in the new season of the show, their senior year, we'll see Ben and Devi together in a relationship. Devi seemed more content, more accepting of who she was, and also more understanding of where she wanted to be, something she lacked at the start of the season, and it was good to see. Ben. Ben was a character that I really enjoyed watching this season. He had a similar arc to what Devi had, in the sense that he's a hardworking individual that was doing all that he could to prepare for the future that he'd always dreamed of. Going to a top-tier college, impressing his father, and working a schedule that was unmanageable due to there quite literally not being enough hours in the day. We saw that it was a medical disruption where his body told him that he was doing too much and putting himself at risk. That was the very thing that got him to slow down. He himself realized that there were things far more important than going to the dream college and studying in his life. It had caused him to be lonely and miserable, and to be operating at 1,000,000 miles an hour. After getting out of hospital, we saw he had a conversation with his father, which was something that he needed to hear in order to enable him to become the very person he'd go on to be. He heard that it was okay for him to not go to his dream college and to not have to study every hour of the day, because he'll be successful in whatever he does. He said that he was proud of him, something he'd longed to hear. From this moment on, we saw Ben discover art, which led him to become a much calmer person and helped with stress. He also found a group of friends with Paxton and Trent, due to the fact that he helped Paxton. And in the closing moments, he also got to be with the person that he liked, Devi. You could sense that he cared a lot about Devi, and the undertones were there all throughout the season, even when he was with Aneesa at the start. He's longed to be with her properly, and despite going on a date with the girl in his art class, I think Devi is the person he truly wants to be with. Fabiola. Fabiola as a secondary character also went on a journey, one of that of relationships. We saw her start the season with Eve before she moved abroad and the time difference got too much for her. We then saw her get into a relationship with one of her best friends, Aneesa, after she broke up with Ben, where it became clear that things weren't going to work between them in the future. This was because of the fact that they weren't compatible, but it was more the thrill and the excitement that drew them towards each other, until ultimately, in the end, we saw that she kicked things off with Dez's friend Addison, who she met at a game night round Davy's house. She was now with her and she was happy. It looked as though she would be embarking off into a relationship with her in the new season. This could also mean that Dez could be appearing more again. Eleanor. Eleanor is an individual that seems as though she'd require a lot from a partner, and despite being with Trent for the wrong reasons in the start, by the end of it, they realized that they were two individuals that brought the best out of each other and made it through the whole year. At the start of the season, she stated that she didn't think that anybody was going to make it because she was going to break up with Trent, but it turned out that her relationship was the only one that survived from the start of the season, going against what she said. In the season finale, her character arc rounded off by her doing the deed with Trent and it happening the exact way that she dreamed of. Although on the set of a play and not like the fictitious tale that she told. She seemed happy, content, and was in a far better position than at the start of the season. With Trent also failing his senior year, they'll now be able to spend more time together as they'll be in a lot of the same classes. Paxton. Paxton was an individual where, just like both Devi and Ben, he underwent a deeper look inside of who he is and why he's the type of individual that he is. He realized that on the surface level, everybody thought that he was just the cool, hot guy that was two-dimensional and had nothing else to offer other than his looks. But we saw a real turning point in the character whilst in his relationship with Devi, and also the influence Ben had on him when he spent time with him in the hospital and by also helping him with his essay. They were two main points that changed it all around. He got into all of the colleges that he applied for, and he was going to be setting off to Arizona to study. You could see that he cared about Devi, and he even mentioned that she made a massive difference to him. As well as being the cool guy, he was also a character that in the end had direction, grounding, and knew the type of person that he wanted to be. Aneesa. Aneesa started the season with Ben, and she ended the season on her own. I feel this character really did drift into the background this season, and it was a shame to see. We saw her acting as the most mature character in the group, and she struck me as a character that understood herself and what she wanted, and she didn't let things get drawn out or play games as it would just waste time. We didn't actually see what she was doing at the end of it, as we never got a kind of resolution, but I'm sure we'll see her in the new season when it does get released. With the 4th season already being commissioned and filmed, and it being announced that it's going to be the last season of the show, we'll see this group of friends embark onto their senior year, where I imagine it will be an emotional farewell where they'll all end up going their separate ways. So, there you have it. Never Have I Ever Season 3 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of Never Have I Ever Season 3? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.